and I came up for a term for him. He's a narcissist. That's a combination of a narcissist and a sociopath, okay? He is not going to change.
The Sports Blitz.
Live and local, weekdays, 4 to 6.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Get ready, Duval. Jaguars training camp is returning to Miller Electric Center for 2026. Join us for an up-close look at our players in action as they prepare for the upcoming season. Daily availability is limited, so don't wait. Be part of all the excitement as football returns to Jacksonville. Get more information and secure your tickets by visiting jaguars.com/training camp. We'll see you there.
KLA Builders is a general contractor based in Panama City Beach, specializing in home remodeling, renovations, and custom projects. KLA Builders offers services like kitchen and bathroom remodels, deck construction, and full home renovations. With a focus on craftsmanship and personalized service for residential projects, KLA Builders is turning client visions into reality. For a free estimate, call KLA Builders, 850-960-5115. That's 850-960-5115.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
Signworks, a business serving businesses since 1985. Everything from signs and banners, vehicles and boats, magnetic and real estate signs, contractor signs, and much more. Signworks can do large format, full color printing too. Signworks, a real professional in the business world. Call Signworks at 785-8899. Signworks, 850-785-8899.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
The locals love it.
Lights, camera, action.
It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Do you know who I am?
Live and local inside the J. Michaels studio.
People know me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Glenn, hot tub. Yeah. Yeah.
Well. As you can tell by my voice, this is not Coach James Hale.
It is the real coach of Bay County who just got a plaque this weekend in his honor. Let's all say a little.
Hey, can't help it. But Coach Hale now has decided when it gets too hot, he's not getting out of the house. So
that is a smart man. I'm going to say that's genius.
So, but anyway,
the only thing you can say is Steverson did such a great job. He cannot leave his house.
He won't. I know it. So,
especially in the oven we have for the next 3 days.
Oh gosh, tomorrow is supposed to be it, man. So. Listen, guy, I got to pat myself on the back. I didn't have anything to do with this, but they do today at 2:30 at Bay High Practice Field. If you don't have anything to do and you need to waste some time, come out there. They're going to dedicate. It's called Glenn's Granite, and it's dedicated to me for all the years that I was at Bay High School and worked with students and athletes and coaches and. I came back in 22-23 as an AD again just to help out the administration who did not have one. So, but they got a great one now, Jamie Bukowski. But I I just can only thank everybody that's ever coached with me or played for me or been in one of my classes. That's what makes it the great thing. And when you see what your students and athletes and other coaches do when they move along in the future and what they've done, there's some great ones here. And I got to give a shout out to Kyle Vandergriff and also to Justin Nyland for kind of thinking this idea up, and Coach Brown and the people that thought that would be a good idea. So, and all the people out there that I've ever come in contact with, and really appreciate it, and it's an honor. So, thank you.
Well, it's much deserved.
I appreciate
really
that.
Much deserved.
Today we're going to have Coach Jason Griffin of the Arnold Marlins going to come out and talk about spring practice, and I'm not spring practice, but what's happening today. I think pad day, and everybody's ready to go. So, hopefully we get this thing settled with the trainers, because it's going to be hot, and you have to have this meter. If it gets over a certain amount of heat index, then you have to take them inside. And I was thinking back when I was playing, where was that when I was playing? And those little cotton uniforms with the pants and the long sleeve jerseys, and you had only time you had water was
I thought y'all played in sweaters.
Just about. The only time we had water was when you took your salt pills before you went out to practice.
How hot were those leather helmets?
They stuck to you when you tried to take them off. No, I was one of the ones that had one of the.
He was one of the last group that was getting fitted before he stopped playing.
No, I had the one face mask bar in front of me. So then we used to put the little hooks in there so they couldn't get their hand in there and hit you in the nose or the eye. So
is that why you became a kicker, so you could retain all your teeth?
Well, yeah, but it hadn't worked out that way. But there's been other situations. But I actually played defensive safety back in the day. As they say, I was pretty fast and things like that. But when I got to college, I remember in the practice thing, I punted and ran down there trying to make a tackle, and the guy said, "We got guys to make tackle. You just stay here. If somebody comes by, rodeo them. Don't try to knock them out of bounds or anything."
Well, at your height, playing safety with the quarterback, he couldn't see you.
I know. I got a lot of.
you were the secret weapon. They didn't know where you lined up.
You know what's funny? You go back to, class reunions and all that, and so as many times as I did some things there, we played one game and we really were beating this team pretty bad. And, I thought he was going to put people in. I kept waiting for him to put sophomores in. Back then, sophomore, junior, and senior at school. And he just kept letting us play, and little did I know the defensive coordinator did not want anybody to score. So I kind of was watching instead of playing the position, and next thing I know, the ball's going over my head, which some people think that's not hard to do, but really, truly, I could get back there. But the guy caught it.
Well, getting behind you and over your head is two different things.
Yeah, it's true. But, so when the guy scored, I had to go over there and face the wrath of the defensive coordinator. But when I played, we only had like 3 coaches. So, you had the head coach and then the 2 guys. One ran defense, one ran offense. But they all coached the position, even the head coach. So, so. And Nashville was great for naming schools: West, East, Central, North.
And normally back then, the defensive guy was just there because he was the meanest one.
we had some. Well, our defense coordinator was redheaded, so fiery temper. But anyway, he was a great guy and learned some lessons. So I know everybody that's had a coach or their favorite teacher that's really given them some life lessons. So that's what we're going to do. And so, well, James, how did your weekend go?
Warm. It was warm. We had a farm swap that we hosted out in Fountain this weekend. Had a couple of nice vendors come out. Had a good amount of people come out and just see what was going on. So pretty cool. Hopefully we can get that thing growing out there.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Nice little local community event.
There you go. Well, how was your weekend? Were you off this weekend fishing, or did you?
Yeah, me and Tristan went fishing. We won our first tournament of the year, which was awesome. But he won his, I think, 5th this year. And the coolest thing for me, at one point while we were fishing, and it was hot, I couldn't cast. He was catching a fish for almost 30 minutes every single cast, and all I could do was take it off the hook and figure out which one was the biggest. And by the time I could do that, he already had me another one to try to do that on. And at one point, I asked him to stop so I could at least fish that day. But no, it was fun. At the end of the day, it's really cool to watch your kids do well at something, but then also enjoy it. And, you know, for the listening folk out there, if you haven't been to any fishing tournaments, if you have a boat, take the kids out to a Thursday night fishing tournament. We've got one here local that goes out of Deer Point that's really good. When you get to watch them, it's kind of neat. I described it to my wife. I can't think of another place you can put your kid in a 10 square foot little area with you for quite a few hours, and then they ask to go back.
Wow. Yeah. That's
because they're having fun.
Right.
And the lessons you get to teach them there with etiquette, sportsmanship, respectfulness, and all of that goes into part of it. The coolest thing for me this weekend is if I hadn't have been fishing, just been a boat captain, he would have beat all the adults.
Wow. Well,
which was pretty cool.
Yeah. So now I know he's going into high school, but like the young lady that's going on a fishing tournament, do you think the NIL will come into that too?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it's already kind of there. So it's not really NIL. They get sponsorships. Sometimes the sponsorship is a boat and motor. Sometimes it's electronics, graphs,
right.
fishing rods, fishing tackle, stuff like that. So it's not necessarily what we think about with football NIL where here's $200,000.
Right.
But some of the stuff may be worth that much.
So now I know with football jerseys, they may be able to put some little patches on their jerseys. They're going to be able to wear the shirt like the race car drivers do with the
So last year, a year and a half ago, there was two brothers, and then another kid at the University of North Alabama. They were all sponsored by a boat company and a motor company and the electronics company. They fished out of their sponsorship boats that they were given. They won the national championship, and then one of those kids went on to win this year's Bassmaster Classic in the boat he was sponsored by.
Wow.
And that's, you win the Classic, and that's $1 million windfall. Not in prize money, but in all your endorsements and everything you get, and the rest of your life get to go to all these events. And
wow.
So, yeah, there is NIL. It's not what you think it is, but there's a lot of sports that do that. Even in football now, there's some of the kids getting clothing deals that you just don't know about. That's not part of their NIL, but that's stuff they do. There was a couple players at Florida State that I knew that some of them have transferred out now, but they literally had clothing deals where they were given clothing, they put on videos, they critique the clothing, basically social influencers.
Yeah, I wonder how all of that went, but I guess it's a big business now. So James, what do you think about the?
I actually got a question on the tournament. So you said you were saying your kid was bringing them in real quick. You were getting them off the line for him, and you were like picking which ones to keep. I know you can only keep a certain amount.
So you get to bring back. So in a tournament, typically you get to bring 5 fish back to the scale, and it's your biggest 5. And this is freshwater bass fishing. Your biggest 5 is what you're competing with against all the other teams or people fishing in the tournament. And when you're out there fishing, like me and him were a team this weekend. In the one we were fishing, there's some that's just the high school or just the juniors out there. And when you have a team, there's a lot of teamwork that goes into it. I was explaining to him actually yesterday that you have to let go of your ego when you're out there fishing. If you really want to be super competitive, I can't put you on a boat with me and describe where I just cast to and how I work that bait in such detail. So if you get on a school of fish and one person starts catching them, the way I was taught and the way I believe is I'm going to let you catch those fish because you know exactly how you worked it, the bait, you know exactly where you cast it, and then you can repeat that over and over. Whereas you caught a fish, now I want to catch one. because we're a team, then all of a sudden I might not make the exact same cast. I might not have the exact same reel that you're using. There's all these different variables that can happen. I might not get bit where you can.
A follow-up question for it. So when you get your 5 fish, so you're at 5 now, which is what you're bringing in. So you catch fish number 6, and you're making your decision on which 5 to keep. Are you allowed to have a scale on the boat with you, or do you literally have to like pick them up and eyeball them to figure out which ones you want?
So we actually have a digital scale, and then we have what's called a balance beam. It's a cull bar. So you take the fish, and with the culling system, they all weigh the same. And you can put them on this bar and hold it, and it will tilt which one weighs more. And you're allowed to replace one of your fish, which is called culling, as long as that fish is alive. So if you have a fish that dies in your live well, you cannot get rid of him. He is part of your permanent weight, and then you get penalized for that fish dying at the weigh-in scale.
So you do have something that can kind of tell you which fish is the bigger fish before you head back in, other than just eyeballing it.
Correct. Okay. And then each of the culling balls that you use have a different color. So there's at times when you're catching them, like we were so fast, I'm looking at it and I'm putting the smallest one on a certain color. Because you can tell size a lot of times just by looking at them. And then once they get to being real close, then it really starts coming down. And to give you an example, there was a tournament this year that we fished, and the first 3 places were 0.04 ounces apart.
It's pretty close.
The first place had a certain weight, 0.68. Second place was the same, 0.67. And then the third was 0.64.
So length doesn't come into it at all. It is just weight of fish. Okay.
You can have 2 identical 13-inch fish, and one weighs more, one weighs less. Tristan caught a fish in, not this tournament, the tournament before, and it was a 6-pound fish.
Wow.
Ended up winning big fish for the tournament. Mm-hmm. But while it was in our live well, it spit up a brim that was the size of my hand. It's a good.
Can you stuff the other fish back in the other fish?
No, when they regurgitate stuff like that, you lose the weight.
So it's like competitive eating.
Yeah,
competitive. Yeah, the hot dog guy. Yeah,
I mean, so there's times when you may catch the fish, you get in the boat, you weigh it, and then 30 minutes later it weighs less because whatever it ate,
and you got an extra fish in the well now.
That has happened.
Gosh.
Believe it or not, there's been some big bass, and I know it's happened on Lake Okeechobee, and they regurgitated a 12-inch fish.
Wow. Well,
if you have too many fish, you can be disqualified.
Wow. Well, you got me talking about fish now, so let's go down to Jay Michaels today
and
get some
great fish sandwich down there.
Great fish sandwich, and also some the coldest beer in town. And you want to make sure that if you like shrimp, get those shrimp. And they got, I tell you what, one of the biggest burgers I've ever seen. And also the pork chop, man. If you get a pork chop, it's the whole meal.
Hey, everything's good there.
Right, it is.
I love the red beans and rice when they have that.
Right. And then if you want red beans and rice too, you can go out to your favorite Mexican restaurant, Peppers, right there on Beach Drive, Back Beach Road rather, and also in town on 77 across from the old mall. We'll be right back with hopefully Coach Griffin comes in soon. We'll see you. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Coach James Hale Show.
North Carolina, Bill Belichick. Are you kidding me? Only 4-8, 2-6, no bowl game. Does he work his magic? Does he get to 7-6 wins and go to a bowl game?
No, I think college football is totally different. It takes a lot more energy to build these programs and to be connected, and I just don't see it from him.
The shocker, he goes 6-6 and he goes to bowl game. Mark it down. It's his girlfriend.
Job.
You got a good girlfriend. Got to give him a little credit.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Anna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday morning. As we head into this afternoon and evening, a likelihood of thunderstorms and some sun, and a high of 92 with a moderate breeze coming out of the west around 18 miles per hour. For tonight, some clouds and a low near 83. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high around 92. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Your goals matter, and at Anytime Fitness Panama City, they're ready to help you crush them. With expert coaching, personal training, and virtual workouts through the Anytime Fitness app, you'll have all the support you need inside the club and beyond. Limited time only. Join today for just $1 down and start your fitness journey now. Don't wait. Visit 107 West 23rd Street, Suite W8, or call 850-818-8184. Anytime Fitness. Let's make healthy happen.
Looking to upgrade your truck? It's Blue Diamond Truck Accessories in Panama City. They sell, service, and install it all. Bumpers, truck bed covers, camper shells, van shelving, ladder racks, and any trailer hitch you can imagine. Blue Diamond Truck Accessories, just west of Frankfort Avenue on 15th Street. Find Blue Diamond Truck Accessories on Facebook or call 850-914-0265. Blue Diamond Truck Accessories, 850-914-0265.
Now, it's time for your Atlanta Braves Morning Update, presented by Tidal Wave Auto Spa. Get clean car happy at any of the 250-plus Tidal Wave Auto Spa locations today.
Braves take Game 3 in extras and take the series. I'm Barrett Salee, and this is your Braves Radio Network Morning Update.
Tidal Wave Auto Spa is the official car wash of the Atlanta Braves and your go-to car wash destination all season long. Visit TidalWaveAutoSpa.com to find a location nearest you.
The first two games of the series versus Baltimore were one-run games, so why not make it a third? Braves topped the Orioles 3-2 in 11 innings in one of the more dramatic games that you will ever see. Dominic Smith with RBIs in the second and the fourth, and then the Braves escape a jam for the ages. Bases loaded, nobody out in the 10th, and they somehow push it to the 11th, and then Austin Riley with the RBI single in the 11th, and of course, he makes a stab on the ground ball with the bases loaded in the bottom of the inning to ultimately end the game. Ronaldo Lopez was great in this one, 5 2/3, 5 hits, and no earned runs. Baltimore in the rearview mirror. New York coming up starting tonight. Zach Thornton gets the ball for the Mets. He's 1-1 and has a 1.93 ERA. Martin Perez will go for the Braves. He's 6-6 and has a 3.38 ERA. Ford leadoff show at 5:55 and first pitch between the Braves and the Mets. 7:10 from Citi Field, and you can hear all of the action on the Braves Radio Network.
For the A.
Here comes the throw. It's late. Braves win.
Your spot for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. Listen live nights and weekends. This is Braves Country. Now back to the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michaels Studio. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. You can hear us as long as you keep driving, I can tell you that now. Now, we're going to bring on a guy who's a big Alabama fan and probably Vanderbilt fan. But Mike, what's happening, buddy?
I guess you haven't heard, Coach. I'm going to buy Vandy season tickets this year. We're working on it today.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that what most Tennessee fans do when they play?
Tennessee plays there, yeah. Don't tell them. Hey, back in I really I was raised a Vandy fan. Ashley McElhaney, she was a darling, and I used to go watch her. And when you'd call down to the ticket office when they were playing Tennessee at Memorial, they'd go, well, "When's the last time you've been to a Vandy game?" and stuff, because they didn't want to sell the good tickets to the Tennessee fans.
Right.
College sports is very devious. It's nothing like the purity of high school sports. I got a question for you, Coach. I want to catch your mental cognitive resources. Okay, the noon meal or lunch special at J. Michael's on Mondays is what?
Should be red beans and rice.
And on Tuesday?
It is quesadillas.
Black bean?
Black bean quesadillas.
And Wednesday, of course, we know what that is. We've
spaghetti,
heard that
yeah.
10,000 times. Yeah. So Thursday?
Thursday, I believe, is the burger day.
And Friday's crispy fish?
Crisp fish, yes.
Oh, we're all in good shape then. They're all torn up in Ohio because we got Dylan Gabriel out of the Baylor school. He's actually from Canada. And I just hate that. Be sure to rub that into your pals tomorrow, okay?
I'll do it.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Coach. Be healthy.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, buddy. Bye. So, wow, he must be not feeling well. That's the shortest Mike. I hope he's doing okay. So, well, look, today is the day that everybody starts pads You know, so it's going to be hot. I think a lot of them are starting later, like at 4. They do. Parents, don't worry. They do have one of those heat meter things that they have to take them in if the heat index goes really high. I know that at Bay High School they have a tub full of ice water, and they do have an ice machine out there on the practice field. So we know, you know, those things are really taken.
See, I heard after the plaque donation, you were going to give a big donation for the indoor facility that they're going to start with air conditioning.
Well, I haven't won the lottery yet, but that could happen.
Okay. I thought you'd won the Powerball this weekend.
I do give money to most of the sports at Bay High.
The Glenn Manley Dome at Tommy Oliver Stadium.
Well, he was just going to put a dome over the stadium.
No,
yes, there we go.
Retractable. Make it like Jerry's.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
What if you do just have the indoor practice facility for Bay High and then Tommy Oliver over there? But what a great, I'm going to tell you what, that is named after a great person who, supported the country, the great service.
And that's just a joke. He's not donating.
No, he doesn't.
Yet.
I'm so broke I can't pay attention. That's the way it goes sometimes. But no, back a long time ago, when we had some things that we used to have somebody on the staff that had some kind of experience with medical experience. But here's another thing that's going to happen too. If we don't find out, I think the school board's working on this. Hopefully they are. I haven't talked to Coach Latch yet, but we need to make sure that we have trainers. What this all came about was in the state playoffs in football this year. One of the teams that was in there, they said their trainer and their doctor hadn't arrived yet. They were flying in, so you can imagine what kind of school that was. And then the other school they were playing said they've never had trainers. And so the FHSAA had a big meeting, and some guy talked them into all this stuff. And so now they have such a restriction on how many.
Said it was unfair?
They said, well, how restriction you had on who you could have. And now they're saying some of the things, I hadn't read the whole thing on it, but they're saying if you have the basketball team practicing and the soccer teams out there practicing, you should have a trainer at each event. And that's just not going to happen in this day and age with people trying to sponsor trainers and all that. It's really nice when you get a hospital or a orthopedic surgeon that's able to put people out there. But
how are you going to have a trainer at all of the events just at one school when you have 4 or 5 teams that are playing all at one time?
I tell you, ours used to go back and forth, and we had radios like you do, walkie-talkie radios. But you know what? Hopefully, if they would put a class, I know that Rutherford has the training for medical certificate stuff. But I think if you put a first aid class in the schools and let the trainers teach that, and they could get paid by like a regular teacher and things like that. So that would help. And then you could train students to do that. So we used to have student trainers.
Well, you have students that volunteer.
Right. But to get they learn. I tell you what, ours would be in there with the trainer watching them tape and watch them do that. And, I know when we went through school, we had to, we had to learn to tape, and then nobody has to do this anymore. I had to learn how to thread one of the 16 millimeter projectors. So, that was a class with audio visual class.
What was that?
Yeah, I know. You can always hear it going. So, but anyway, that's like when you try to teach kids now to drive a standard shift car. They have no clue that you don't need a battery to this dead. Yeah, to take off. Yeah, I had a Volkswagen. I parked on the hill so I could let the brake off and roll and start it. So, but
I was watching the thing the other day where they don't even call it an emergency brake anymore. It's an e-brake.
Oh my gosh! I don't. What
It was what that was your drift and emergency stop brake.
I know it. My dad told me one time, if you just slam it in the first and let the clutch out, see what happens.
I can remember driving a stick shift and you didn't hardly hit the brakes; you just downshifted.
Yeah.
I know it. Push the clutch in and coast. Yeah.
You finally touched the brakes when you got to first gear.
Right. Drive one every day. Love it.
The old Jeep. Yeah. I learned how to drive on a tractor. You had the gas feed and the gear. So
and it's I remember I actually
was it a 3-on-3 or a straight 4?
It was a 4. four slots and they push down again on the tractor.
So you didn't have the 3 on the side?
No. Now, when I learned how to drive my car, I had a 3 on the tree.
Yeah, I actually, one of our old brush trucks at our fire department I was a part of had 3 on the tree still. It was a 74 GMC, so I'm probably one of the youngest people that remembers actually driving one of those things.
Right. Did you have a suicide knob on the thing, too?
Oh, yeah, I did. Had the lights, if you wanted to get your brights on, right there on the floor.
Yeah, floorboard. And I'm going way back. So when you turned the radio on, you had to wait for the tubes to warm up so the radio would come on.
Yeah.
And if you wanted the windshield wiper to work, you had to let off the gas so the vacuum would take over.
Yeah. I'm telling all of them.
I know. It's like, my first car was a 1949 Chevrolet Coupe. So, Betty, I tell you what, I was in high cotton there. But well, enough of that old auto stuff. So, look. I like to get with Jason too when he comes in. Well, there's Bozeman, Weewaw, I think Sneeds. A couple of them have joined a different league now that they play. So they play teams their size all the time, and so that's good to be started. Even with the rural, we still had some unequal size of schools. At least they've tried to put all the private schools in the like 1 through 3A. They've tried to put them in a 2A bracket. So
yeah, I'm interested to see how Coach Maddox is going to do up there at Bozeman this year.
Okay, so but I just
he's always got a pretty good offense, and it's going to be pretty interesting up there watching Bozeman on their new field and new coach and.
All right. Yeah, he's got it going now. He's had some experience. I tell you what, I saw some things on Graceville, the Graceville Tigers. Man, they had some of the people come back that had been back in the day when you won the state and all that. Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
Hey, Coach, have him sit next to you, Coach.
Sit right here, Coach. Yeah, that way they can get us all in one grenade. So
that way we can break all the cameras.
Well, let's talk about some of our sponsors before we get going here. Patrick, tell us about your great company. What's happening there?
Well, Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. Right now, we're starting to see some and get some. You have insects coming in with sodwood worms, chinch bugs. If you hadn't already had your preventative insecticide put out, give us a call at 850-890-5820. We can get that out. If you're starting to see them, we can kill those and then get your preventative to prevent any future damage. We also do household pest control, fire ant control, mosquito control, and rodent control. You can look us up on Facebook at Turf Pro PC, or you can give us a call at 850-890-5820.
All right. And also, I know that Jason and a couple of other coaches do this. Go see Max Fit Sports Nutrition. Even if you're not playing a sport and you want to get ahead on what you're supposed to do, and the adults, if you want to lose weight or you want to be a healthy thing, they make lunches and they can send them to you, or they have a machine which does your body fat and they can control your diet, but they check you and they know all the stuff, so it's not like they're going to make you buy something if you don't need it. We'll be right back with Coach Jason Griffin, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you tired of little radio stations with little signals that drop off at the edge of town?
She did say,
Oh, bless their hearts. This is the most powerful sports signal in the Panhandle. You found the Sports Talk Monster. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Canes fans, the 2026 Miami Hurricanes football season will be here before you know it, and there's no better place to experience it than inside Hard Rock Stadium. Feel the energy of the crowd, the excitement of game day, and the moments you can't fully experience from your couch. Season tickets are the best way to make sure you don't miss a snap, a score, or a signature Canes moment all season long. Lock in your seats today at MiamiHurricanes.com/football. That's MiamiHurricanes.com/football.
Upgrade your time on the water. Blue Water Marine Electronics is officially open at 2320 West 15th Street in the old Kawasaki dealership. Blue Water Marine Electronics, your premier destination for marine tech. They sell, service, and install everything from top-tier GPS and fish finders to sound systems and trolling motors. Need repairs? They're Bay County's authorized Minn Kota Warranty Center. Blue Water Marine Electronics, 15th Street, Panama City.
Let's be real. Look at this fur. This kind of star quality doesn't just happen. That's why humans are taking their VIP, very important pet to the new Moon and Pearl Pet Parlor, 6126 Thomas Drive. It's a one-on-one, calm, spa-style pampering experience for us dogs and cats. Pure red carpet treatment. Book online at our new Facebook page for Moon and Pearl Pet Parlor, or Google Moon and Pearl Pet Parlor. Be sure to take a selfie with me. Just ask for Mavis.
Want to know the inside scoop on your favorite teams? From the gridiron to the hardwood to the diamond. For comprehensive sports coverage, it's ESPN Northwest Florida. Now back to the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michaels studio.
And we are back, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We have a special guest today besides Patrick. We have Coach Jason Griffin, the head football coach at the Arnold Marlins. Jason, how you doing today?
Coach, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Good, yes, sir. Tell us a little bit about what's going on today. If people don't know what's happening.
Well, today's kind of an average day, I guess. No, today's the first day of football season. We're going in helmets today, and this kind of kicks everything off. So, today's the end of the shuffling transfer season as well. So from a head coach's standpoint, I'm sure we're all at whatever time everybody practices today, it's going to kind of change, our mindset in that, who the guys that show up today are your guys. That's going to be your football team. You're going to know what it looks like. Right. Actual football team looks like. So you can kind of shift gears and start getting ready to try to prepare you guys to win football games.
Yes, sir. So tell us, I haven't talked to you much. Tell us about how your spring went and everything. So
I'm really pleased with spring. We had a really great spring. The kids' attitudes and enthusiasm was fantastic. I got a new quarterback this year. And I have really high hopes for him. I think he could possibly be one of the best I've ever had. And I've had some.
You had some good ones. Well, not only that, but you were a good one too. So that goes.
I appreciate that. This young man is he's got a ton of ability, processes so well, so smart, and those things are ideas though. We've all those things in shorts, and he hasn't had a chance to get a lot of live reps. He had a little arm issue last year, so I'm very excited to get gear on him, and when the bullets start flying, see if he's exactly what I think he is. So.
Well, good, Coach. The other thing too, in Florida, you can always tell when it's football season, it's 100 degrees, and then when it's soccer season, it's -4. So. Tell us a little bit about the heat factor for you when you might start practicing, or what y'all have to do for the heat.
Yeah, with the wet bulb, it's really a kind of a good thing. In the old days, you'd be frustrated about, or you look off and you'd see lightning, and you have to wonder if it's close enough, which way it's going, and I kind of have to make all these decisions. With the heat, they've taken that out of our hands. So they have the wet bulb where it has whatever color range that it's in for the heat and the humidity combination. Right. It gives you instructions on what you're allowed to do, how long you're allowed to be out there, what gear you're allowed to wear, whether you can be outside or not. Same thing with lightning. We have the weather station. When that thing goes off, you go inside, and so it's taken a lot of that away from us, which I think is a great thing.
Absolutely.
Less to worry about and less issues. But what we're going to try to do is we're going to go in the morning. In fact, our guys are getting in there right now in the next few minutes, next 30 minutes, and we're going to take care of dot some I's across T's with FHSA stuff. We've got to get our home campus paperwork, get the videos watched this morning, make sure everybody's squared away, and then we'll get out as soon as we got all that taken care of this morning. So we're going to go in the mornings to try to avoid that wet bulb. And then, of course, normally we get those afternoon thunderstorms, but, over the summer we started getting a little bit in the morning, which is a little weird. So it's kind of made me question my judgment. We're going to stay in the morning, try to beat the heat and the lightning. And we'll see if it works out. That's just typically how it's gone best for us.
Yeah, and then when school starts, of course, you go to the regular afternoon.
That's what it is. You can't. And sometimes you may have to push your practice back if the wet bulb's too high. You may have to just get some skull sessions, some meetings until you can get out.
Are you able to share the gym? I know volleyball starts and swimming starts, and cross country and all kind of stuff goes on.
We don't. I don't plan for that. Sometimes it may be available if we need it, but I don't even really plan for that because it's because of those things. There's so many organizations, and volleyball's in season, so it's their priority. So I don't really plan for that. If it's available, we adjust on the fly. I've got a lot of really experienced football coaches, been with me a long time, and so we're pretty good at adjusting on the fly. And if we have the gym available, we'll work and get something there. We'll get in the classrooms, get some meetings, film, that kind of thing. So we just, I said I've got guys been with me for a while, so it's pretty easy for us to kind of flex when we have those issues.
So, Coach, when is your first actual game this year? Because I know you got a jamboree.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the first game. Is that the first week of school, second week of school?
I believe it's the second week of school. I think the kickoff classic's on the 14th.
Okay.
And then the following week will be week 1. Yeah.
You're gonna play. Do y'all open at home or y'all on the road?
Yeah, we've got a kickoff classic at home against North Bay, and Destin are coming in, and then we're hosting Freeport the following week at Gavlac, and then we're on the road to Walton after that. So.
Well, that's pretty good. And then you have a different district this year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you sound like you have the Arkansas schedule.
Yeah, it's early on, we've got some games we should be able to compete and do really well. Then it gets tough for us. When the FHSA reclassified this for this cycle, they took a classification out, and so that condensed a lot of the schools down. So now there's some bigger schools. We're the smallest school in our district, and they put us on. We're on the Tallahassee side, so we're in there with Leon, Childs, Rickards, and then we're also in there with Lincoln and Mosley. So we've got a couple of schools that they've been doing very well and are some bigger schools. So we've got our work cut out for us. But at the same time, it's exciting. It's a challenge, and
right.
I think we're looking forward to seeing where we stack up.
Yeah, when you go into the Leon and the Childs thing, but when you start going into schools like Lincoln and Mosley, they're so much bigger than you are, and they've played in a higher classification.
They've been in a higher classification for years, yeah. So
that's a little difficult, And I think FHSA didn't like to hear me call them, but they don't know anything about Northwest Florida. I know one time when Choctaw filed because they were isolated. I'm thinking, isolated? How do you not know anything about Northwest Florida?
Yeah, there's always some head scratching going on when these things all work themselves out. And I've never tried to really put myself in their shoes. I understand the state's it's one of the biggest states there is, and there's a lot of football, a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts to it, I would imagine. But at the same time, there are some things that do make you scratch your head a little bit. But I didn't see the wisdom in dropping a classification, for me. But that's what it was. It's the hand you're dealt, and I've never been. I think me, Coach. We're not going to back away from a challenge. It's I've never ducked anyone or done anything like that. Our guys are going to go out there and we're going to get them ready to compete, and that's why they play them. You never know that those guys, even though they're sometimes they're supposed to win and that kind of thing, they got to beat you. So we're gonna make them do that.
That's true. Well, you learned that toughness stuff from the coach you played for. So, so anyway, I think he would try to beat you in tiddlywinks if he could.
I always, it's funny you mentioned that because I always thought that about him. It's a guy that can coach. Could coach anything. He was a heck of a baseball coach. I think Coach could have, if he was coaching a chess team, he'd have found a way to give himself some sort of advantage. That's just he was something.
Yeah, he was. I tell you what, he was a great hat collector because I know when I was calling high school basketball, my brother-in-law worked for a certain company, then I'd always bring him a hat, but I had to put it in a paper bag so he could take it home. But yeah, so anyway, but he was a great guy too, and so very competitive, and I used to holler at him across the field, go, "You didn't see that one, did you?" So he goes, "I got it now." So,
I remember those. You guys, there was competing against each other, but there was always that level of respect amongst and the class that you guys all had. That was a great example for me. Growing up and watching that as a player, and then as a young coach, seeing how you guys. It was competitive, and there was not, there was not a lot of. There were some hurt feelings and things like that, but at the same time, the way that the coaches carried themselves in the class and the respect you guys all had for each other was a great example.
Yeah, Coach McCory, bless his heart, I tell you what a great guy he was.
He was, I'll tell you.
And I tell you,
great mentor for me as well.
And I tell you what, great football player, but I tell you what, he really had such a dry sense of humor. You had to make sure if he didn't smile at you, you weren't sure whether it was.
He was one of the funniest people I've ever known. And it was a little different sense of humor, but he kept me in stitches all the time. He was great. His first year as a coach back in Bay County, was my senior year.
Oh, okay.
That was his first year. Him and Pat Miller both came on
Right.
board then, and that was a couple different cats that we weren't used to. They were young and wild, and it was a great experience to both play under those guys and to coach with them. That was great experience.
Yeah,
for me.
those guys were good. I think they both played on the team from Mosley that went to the championship.
Yep, sure did. Yep.
So
82 or 1 or whatever that
So,
was.
Coach, you were talking about just the different size of the different programs within your district. And I'm real familiar with Mosley. My daughter's a cheerleader there. Sure. So I see how many kids they have. On that note, how many kids do you have coming out there at Arnold participating in the entire football program? Because I know you've built it up and you're doing a great job. And those young kids and the participation is really what makes your season.
Yeah, when we've had some challenges. We're doing the best we can to get numbers up. I think our program's probably running around right around 80 kids right now, which is probably a little light for a school our size. I mean, we're not a 1A school either. We're not a small school, so right. But there's challenges in every school. And I know that Mosley's doing a good job of their participation in getting guys in and the numbers that they have, and that's great. And they have some things that work in their favor geographically and that sort of thing. So we're trying to grow it, and I think. The youth football, I think I see some great organizations. I see that seems to be making a little bit of a resurgence. I think that's going to help us down the road in that, you get kids that start playing it young. We won't have to be dragging as many kids that never played and that kind of thing out. So, but we beat the hallways. We try to get every kid that's interested in it out there and give them an opportunity. And, we're trying to grow the program. And ideally, we'd have, 200 kids in the program if that's what, if that was the reality. But that's not where we're at. But, and I think, we've got to win football games. You got to build tradition. I mean, we've not done that enough. We got off to a good start and had a little bit of a setback. But we've got to win football games and get people excited about playing football, and that's what I'm there for. And if I don't do that job, then we're not going to grow it, and that's just the reality of it.
Well, I've been to several of your games there, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, and the atmosphere at Arnold is just phenomenal.
Oh, it sure is, man. Cullen does a great job with that band. It's a great support. A great student body that's really excited about rooting for all Arnold athletics, and again, we just got to give them a great product on the field, and we've got to build a community out here. We got to establish some winning. We got to establish some tradition, and that's not really been done out there very much, and it's a challenge to do that, and that's what the goal is, and I'll either do it or they'll find somebody else, I would imagine. So we're gonna work hard at it.
Well, Coach, y'all do a fantastic job. Having been on my favorite sideline, as you know, but watching, I watch. I don't. I try not to coach anything unless somebody asks me a question. I'm not gonna. I just watch because I'm not there every day, and I don't know the kids and the way they do that. So, hats off to you guys because it's just not all about coaching the game. It's a whole lot of things that go into it. People don't realize how much it is. But
I'll tell you the neatest thing that I've seen with you, Coach, and it's really your players. And to me, it goes back to how you're coaching and what you're coaching them. The games that I've watched, after plays, there may be a little chippiness, but there's not unsportsmanlike. It's like they're aggressive, they're proud of themselves, but they're not taunting the other players. They're not doing cheap stuff and stuff that shouldn't be in the game. And I just want to commend you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's something, I have some great assistant coaches that work for me, and we all share that same culture in that, we want our kids to play hard, play through the whistle, we want to be physical. We want to be as tough as anybody, but at the same time, when the whistle's over, it's like I tell you, I had some great examples of coaches and how to act and how to carry yourself in class, and that's the expectation we have for our players. Right. But I appreciate that. Yeah.
We're going to have to take a break. We'll do some of our sponsors when we come back. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
The PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Anna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday morning. As we head into this afternoon and evening, a likelihood of thunderstorms and some sun, and a high of 92 with a moderate breeze coming out of the west around 18 miles per hour. For tonight, some clouds and a low near 83. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high around 92. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
That boot store can help you dress in style, from casual Western wear for a night out with family and friends to a special meeting that requires a fashion touch with Western flair. From boots to hats, belts to shirts to jeans and a lot more for the smallest of the largest in name brand Western attire, including Carhartt work clothes. Shop that boot store for the whole family. Open Tuesday through Thursday 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday 9 to 5:30. Next to Billboard Kia, 15th Street, Panama City, where God is good all the time.
This is Patrick with Turf Pro Pest Control. Do you want a great looking lawn? Call Turf Pro. We will come out to your property and make a customized plan for your lawn. Then we will do the most important part, execute that plan. Turf Pro is a locally owned and operated company. We take pride in making your lawn beautiful. Call Turf Pro. You will love your lawn. The blue and yellow trucks make your lawn green. Find us on Facebook at Turf Pro PC.
Are you tired of little radio stations with little signals that drop off at the edge of town?
He did say.
Oh, bless their hearts. This is the most powerful sports signal in the Panhandle. You found the Sports Talk monster. Now back to the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michaels Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I promised you a couple of little commercials, and you're going to get them. So here we go. Steve's Bike Shop on 23rd Street, right across the street from Sam's. Let me tell you, been there since 1979. Mosley soccer, excuse me, I got it on my mind. Mosley swim coach, who was a great swimmer in his own right. I tell you what, the electric bikes are taking over the world, and they know how to fix them. They know how to make them. They know how to do the electric motor. That's the main thing. That's like when you buy a Tesla, that battery goes out, you might as well buy another car because they're expensive. But let me tell you, they will take care of you. They have all kinds of equipment there where you need when you're doing your biking or you're racing and everything like that. So be sure you get out there and see them. And if I'm going to go over to Beef O'Brady's over there in Lynn Haven, that's the key word, Lynn Haven, see Patrick and all the people treat you just like the Cheers. I mean, great place to eat. I love the fries. I love the burgers, and I like the pulled pork bowl, which is really great too. And while we're there, James, where will I'm going to go on down the street to see somebody? Who would I go see?
Are you heading down the street to go see David Adamson's? You need some more jewelry?
I am. I need a new belly ring, so I got to get out there and get a new one. So
if your old one's broken, they can fix it. Just remember that. They'll fix it in-house. Don't send it off.
That's true. I'm not doing that. It costs enough as it is. But let me tell you, they'll take care of you. And you go in there with, if you have a watch that needs to be repaired, a watch battery, or you have a ring that needs to be reset, or even cleaning, they'll take care of you. So what a great bunch of people. And you want to go out there and see them. So now, hey, Jason, let's get back to facilities. If you go into a lot of places, and we had the fortune enough that they built a new gym for us, that it's pretty adequate, but it's still smaller than it needs to be, especially if you want these people to show up. So, you have a locker room, but to have as many people, some people have the lower, some people have a up, and some people hang them on a hook, I guess.
Yeah, it's challenging. First of all, you really threw me off with you in a belly ring, Coach. I gotta say,
He hasn't shown you?
No, I'm good. I'm good with that.
Well, that's part of the deal.
But no, with facilities, there's a lot of things that you don't want to throw. Yeah, I try. I've never been like a squeaky wheel to things like that. I don't want to say things like inadequate or things like that. But we have a lot of challenges with facilities, and you look at what the districts like Walton County, what Leon County, the districts around us, what they're doing with some of their facilities and things like that, and it creates some challenges for us. I've got a varsity locker room that's a long, long ways from the practice field, and has 40 lockers in it. And then, anything else that any upgrades or things like that, we have to raise money. And so anytime that we want to make any kind of improvement or adjustment, it's going to be on us and our booster club to make money. And then, I think everyone, there's so many organizations fundraising right now that it puts so much pressure on the community to basically fund all of the organizations that people just, I mean, if you're a business owner, and I imagine you probably see people walk in the door, you hide under your desk, I would imagine.
No,
So many
we
people,
get so many phone calls about, can you donate to us? Do you want to sponsor this? Do you want to sponsor that? And it's sad to say, but you have to pick and choose. Because you can't sponsor everybody, even though you want to do some stuff. We personally at our company do some stuff that is not a dollar donation, but it's some other stuff that we do to help teams and stuff like that.
And we've seen a little bit more of that, and that's great, at the same time. But and there's
it saves you money on other aspects that you would have to spend it.
But we still are under a lot of pressure to raise those dollars in order to get the things that not just. I mean, we get I think $2,500 a year for transportation is the only money that we get from the district.
That's one trip.
Well, that doesn't get you a charter to Tallahassee. That's less than one. So we every helmet, every pair of shoulder pads, everything that we get that we put on a kid, meals. Anything that we're going to put on those kids is money that we have to raise and our booths have to raise, and it has to come from our community. It's a lot of pressure on the community, and I don't know how it's sustainable. I know that everybody's struggling. I'm amazed, and not in a good way, about how challenging it is to raise money right now. And I know, again, being a business owner right now, I can imagine how inundated you guys are with these, because I see so many organizations all doing the same type of fundraising. So I don't know that it's sustainable. I don't know what the answers is. I know this guy right here. I hope that he's our next school board member, because I actually live in that district as well. So there is a vote you'll get over here, but. I do hope that a guy with your experience and your chops and things that you've been everywhere, you've seen all the schools, you understand what's out there, and I hope that you'll be able to at least kind of at least bring that to the forefront of what's going on.
I would like to see, not in a school board, not in a county, but a statewide statute or something that appropriates money for athletics at the high school level.
That would be phenomenal.
That could be distributed throughout, because literally there's so much more value in extracurricular activities at the schools for what it does for the kids, for confidence, developing character, leadership. I mean, all these other things that are intangibles that we need in society, that we've kind of taken all that money. Back when I was in school, we didn't have to pay for nothing. It was paid for by the school board, and yes, we had boosters, but now it's all on boosters.
All of it.
And the schools don't give a whole lot. I mean, I watch some of this stuff, even with what my daughter does and what the football teams and baseball teams and basketball teams, and you just kind of, where's it going to stop? When do the people say, hey, we can't do this no more, and all of a sudden, then what happens?
Yeah, again, and I could not agree more, and that would be great. And, I think kind of my frustration, one of the things that I've kind of not, mentioned in, coaching, running for office and those things, that's something I've never really even addressed. I've never really gotten in, even though I'm a political science major, I've kind of stayed away from that being, in the role that I'm in and what I've always done. But I think that's a failure on my part, to be honest with you. I don't know what we can do statewide, but I do know what we can do locally. And I think that the guys like me, you turn around and look, and I've been doing this, this is my 28th year. I think I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on around here. And, I think guys like me and guys, some of us need to probably step into the forefront of that and see if we can push some of these things and make some of these things happen. Because from a local standpoint, I know we can do something there. What we can do statewide, I'm not sure. But I know locally, we can probably make some things happen.
I know me personally, and y'all would probably agree and have the same thing, but I've never heard anybody that participated in high school sports that said it was the worst thing I ever did, or I regretted doing that. It's always, I regretted not doing this. I regretted not playing my senior year, or I wish I'd have went out and played football. It's always I wish I would have, not I wish I wouldn't have.
That's funny you mentioned that. That's accurate. I've never heard anyone say that, God, I played high school sports and it was the worst thing. I've never heard that, but I have heard the other. I've heard a lot of regret in folks that didn't when they could. And, there's so much to get from it. And just, from a personal level, the fact that I'm sitting here today and all the things that I got from where Coach knows where I came from, and then, to learn all those things about dealing with adversity and toughness and mental toughness and physical toughness and accountability and all the things that sports teaches us, man. It's so important, and I think that the fact that we don't fund it better is a failure.
Not to get political or anything like that, but it's crazy how athletics brings such a diverse group of people to a unity in one situation.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you look in the locker room, both in high school, I played at a pretty diverse school, but then you get to college, I mean, you're in a shower with 100 guys from all over the place, and, it does bring a whole different, sense of what the world is to you. Man, you get so many different experiences by playing sports, and, I think that, we need to do a better job of giving the kids a better opportunity.
I'm 52, so I graduated a long time ago. I still run into people I played high school sports with, and you cannot see each other for 35 years, and it's like you saw them last week.
That's right. Absolutely true.
So, if you get out there, if you're sweating together and freezing together and all that, you come together and, it's kind of like the military. They break you down and then they build you back up as a team. So, those are some of the things that you need to wish.
Now, I have heard a bunch of players that would all get together and talk about the coach they didn't like because he was so hard.
Well, yeah, but
then they turn around and go, but he was such a great, they respect him so much, but we didn't like him when he was there.
I think as Coach alluded to, I think when you suffer together, when you genuinely suffer with people, there's a bond that you can't, it's forever. It's not something that's going to go away when you suffer with somebody like that.
It depends on which side of the ball. If you're on the 5-yard line and it's 4th down and you're on the defense, you're looking at each other, they're not going to get through me. And if you're on the offense, you're going, well, listen, we're going to push this thing in here. So, you just kind of come together, and that's a critical moment, which people say, oh, it's got to be a touchdown or not. That's a man challenge thing right there. So, listen, we got 30 seconds. I'm going to tell you one thing. We're going to have Steve's air conditioner go. We got it going really well in here, but we're going to have them when we come up with the Alabama update next.
I need a portable one of those.
That's true too. So, but you want to get out there to all of our great sponsors. I can't say enough about Peppers, man. I tell you what. Now you got one on the beach right there where the old TGI Fridays used to be. They remodel it. Today is 10% for all military discounts. So get out there. The best margaritas in town. So we'll be right back. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, Alabama coming up.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Dan Patrick Show.
A lot of times when you have a champion, there is a let's try to follow their blueprint. They had 2 guys that were taking up a majority of their payroll in Boston. And as a result, that's where you have to look and go, we can't continue to do this.
It's the Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings from 9 till 11. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Anna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday morning. As we head into this afternoon and evening, a likelihood of thunderstorms and some sun, and a high of 92 with a moderate breeze coming out of the west around 18 miles per hour. For tonight, some clouds and a low near 83. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high around 92. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
There's only one sport with games to bet every day the rest of the summer, and there's only one legal app to bet it. Bet baseball on Hard Rock Bet, your home to bet home runs, strikeouts, even the next at-bat. It's secure and regulated, so your money is safe. Step up to the plate with towering parlays that can turn a dollar bet into a max payout up to $2 million.
It's out of here!
Hard Rock Bet. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about your gambling? Call or text 1-833-PLAY-WISE.
WJSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Back to the gap at the wall. Out of here!
Ho, ho, ho! Santa's on vacation, but Coin and Bullion Reserve's fine jewelry is working overtime on the savings. Celebrate Christmas in July with up to 75% off sparkling diamond and gemstone jewelry, coastal-inspired pieces, and holiday savings that are making waves. You'll find treasures from the shore to adore during Christmas in July. Slay the summer at Coin and Bullion Reserve's fine jewelry at the corner of East Avenue and 15th Street, your diamond headquarters.
Do you know who I am?
If he was the last person on Earth,
I'm kind of a big deal.
Mankind would still have a chance.
We may have to repopulate the Earth.
Now back to the Coach James Hale Show.
I'm very important.
Live from the J. Michael Studio at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hey, stand up, put your hand over your heart, face Nick Saban. Here we go. Southern Tide. That's all I know. That's all I'm going to learn. So anyway, but brought to you by Stevenson Air Conditioning, the great place, homegrown person, Mosley graduate. Tell you what, they will only sell you what you need. Coach Hale wanted the Superdome heat air conditioner, but they said, no, you don't need that, Coach. So they went out there and they do a great job, and they clean up and everything. I just couldn't get them to do windows at my house. They would do everything else but windows. But I tell you what a great company. So I see their trucks everywhere. So get out there and support them. Local company doing well for local people. So we talk a little bit about Alabama football, and today we have 3 players that were picked on the SEC All-First Team for this year. They were voted by the media reporters that were there. A wide receiver, Ryan Coleman, cornerback, Xavion Brown, and safety, Bray Hubbard. Those are the ones that are supposed to be on the first team. Second team should be guard Michael Carroll. And on the third team is outside linebacker Yazi Pierre. I could probably Pierre. Excuse me, I slaughtered that name. And it's safety. I can get this one right. Keon Sab. So get out there and see those people in person. And you think when they get to the 9-game schedule and they get ready to play in the say a championship game, some of them might sit out so they can stay in the ratings? Or you think the thing really counts now, the schedule, since we had got 9 games?
Well, every game counts, coach speak. What I see starting to happen, and what is, especially if they go to the 2014 playoff, we're going to be looking more like an NFL-type player management. Your biggest rivalries, your Auburn, Alabamas, Florida States, and all those, they won't be at the end of the year unless they're forced to. Because at that point, you're going to have teams that are not going to get a home field game, going to be in the top 24. Why are you going to play your starters and risk injury?
Yeah,
if they go to 24, conference championships are gone.
Yeah, because I guess that makes up the money to have the extra rounds. So it goes to –
well, there's more games then.
Yeah, but then the other thing, too, is like in some – how many games you get to play in determines how much money comes to you.
I mean, I was using this as an example last week, talking with some friends and stuff, and they're going, oh, it'll never happen. I'm like, really? I said, go look at the NFL model. Last year, the last game of the year, Denver played San Diego in Denver. Both of them are in the playoffs. Denver was already going to be a top seed. San Diego was a mid-seed, not going to get a home game. They benched their first-string quarterback and second-string quarterback, bring in the practice squad quarterback to start and play the game. And they did that with several players throughout the team. Of course, they lose. It didn't matter for them because they were still in the playoffs. It was a difference of 2 teams they were going to play, and they were both going away. And that's happened for decades in the NFL. We are moving towards that model for college football, and I think it's going to destroy what everybody loves about college football, that every game counts, every game matters. Even right now with the 12-team playoff, I'm not a fan of it.
No.
I've said that since day one. Miami is an outside exception last year, being the 10th seed that got to the national championship game. As we go forward, unless – I just don't see anybody past seed 6 ever winning the national championship.
I know, but I think that's to give the ones that are not the Power 4 a chance. And I don't know if you're trying to get the best.
It's about TV ratings and TV money. It has nothing to do with the teams.
Yeah. So. All right.
And it's a lot of money.
It is.
Yes.
So I don't see it going the other way, to be honest with you. It's too much money. And
well, that's the whole thing. It's too much money for what they're going to do unless the SEC does what they threatened last week with pulling out of the NCAA. If they do it, I can guarantee the Big Ten's coming right with them, and they're going to pull another 14 to 16 teams with them that are going to leave conferences and they're going to join their own thing. The problem is when you do that, every other sport is impacted, and that's going to be the holdup of it.
Right. So, also this is the lowest SEC preseason pick for Alabama they've had since 2008. So they're picked. They were rated number 5 in the votes that they received, but they're also picked to finish 6th in the final thing for the.
Now, I saw something. It was Thursday afternoon. On ESPN, and it was some analysts going over a bunch of different stuff with Alabama, and it was quite interesting. Alabama, out of all the games they played against the top. It was either 9 or 10 run defenses in the country. Then you go look at their stats, and they're like, oh, well, they wasn't physical. They couldn't run the ball. Well, when you play the top defenses, Indiana, Auburn was one of them, Vanderbilt was one of them, I mean, Georgia was one of them. It's hard to run the ball against those defenses that are built for that.
Right.
This year, they're not playing those. Watch out.
That's true. So, the way they picked it at the end, they say Georgia's number 1, Texas number 2, Ole Miss 3, Texas A&M 4, LSU 5, Alabama 6, Oklahoma 7, Tennessee 8, Florida 9. I think Florida may be higher than that this year. The Mizzou at 10, South Carolina 11, Auburn 12. I think they'll be higher. Vanderbilt 13, Kentucky 14. Kentucky's going to be a kind of a mystery team also. I think the ones with the new coaches are. Sorry, Brian. Ole Miss Mississippi State is 15th, but at least you're not Arkansas.
They still have cowbells. so, Coach.
Yep.
Griffith, you're a current coach, so you're in with all this. What is your opinion of how DeBoer is done taking over from what is considered probably the best college football coach ever?
I can't imagine anybody that would be willing to do that, to follow Nick Saban. I mean, that's beyond challenging. How do you even maintain, much less try to do something that's better? So I have an incredible amount of respect for DeBoer. I think he's an unbelievable football coach. But I think in today's environment, it used to be the X's and O's. And the guys that were really good at coaching, really got a good culture, the PJ Flex and those guys, I think those guys always had an edge and they could win football games no matter what. But I think now you've got to have that business side, with their GMs, you've got to have the NILs. It's pro football. I mean, these guys, you got to go find the guys, and you got to get you have to have a booster base. You got to get the money. You got to go out and find the guys, the right guys. And I think that's a whole different animal from what college coaching used to be. It used to be about just guys at X's and O's and culture. Now it's we got to go find the guys.
And the crazy thing that no fan really pays attention to, I know of a few instances last year that this did happen, but those NIL checks, when they're late, boy, that destroys the effort of certain players.
You can imagine if there's any confusion about their deal, or if their money didn't come, or the guys just he's probably not going to give you the kind of effort that he would expect, and that's a frustrating thing about college football. It's for the most part professional football now, and nobody's saying that's the elephant in the room, and if there's so much chaos in it right now that I think it's going to be a little while before I think there'll eventually be some. It'll finally find some balance and it'll sort itself out, but I think that's still a ways off.
Yeah, the thing too is, in their contract or whatever they're saying they're getting NIL money, if you do get into playoffs, do you have to pay them more because they got into playoffs, or is that going to be a demand now, or is it just it's a whole year?
I would imagine they're going to, they're going to write contracts that have all kinds of incentives and things like that. I mean, it's going to be, again, I think their contracts are going to be just not unlike any pro contract that's out there. In my mind, I can't see it being any different.
The craziest thing for me is, for years, the college athlete, even as this NIL has started, has not been able to have professional representation to negotiate their contract.
Well, I think the other thing that folks aren't, when in the NFL, agents, you have to be registered, and there's a limit to how much money that the agent can take from you. You got a lot of these street agents and these things out there with these NIL deals, and some of these guys, they're negotiating these deals, dads and whatever. But they're
uncles, dads, yeah.
But there's no limitation on some of these guys are taking 40-50%. Whereas the NFL, I think it's 2 or 3% is the max or something like that. So I think that there's a lot of chaos with that stuff, and that needs to be. And how do you? It's like, they talk about the commissioner, with Nick Saban being the commissioner, all that stuff. Somebody's got to, there has to be some way to protect these kids. I would think, these guys are going to get taken advantage of, and I think that's happening pretty frequently. Even in high school, with some of the things, the NIL deals I hear about in high school, they got guys that are negotiating these deals for these kids and taking huge chunks of it.
All right.
And it kind of goes against what the idea of it is in my mind. So
I think it was Prattville last year had a kid turn down a $700,000 NIL deal.
That's insane. I mean, that's just so
Now,
difficult.
he was rated the number one player in the state, and a lot of those, but he stayed at his own school, which was kind of commendable. But at the same time,
I
sitting
don't
here
even
going,
know that I could give him that advice, and I'm old school, I believe in, playing for, I'm not a big transfer, that wasn't my, thing, but at the same time, if a kid's got a chance to make $700,000, you probably won't have, probably do that, I don't know how to.
It's hard to tell somebody not to take that.
I don't know how I'd be challenging for me as a dad.
Well, it didn't come from a public school, I can tell you that right now, but listen, I think the board, he's holding off on naming the starting quarterback. So, do you think he's going to be forced into making an early decision, or you think he's going to be able to hold out between Austin Mack and Keela and Russell?
He'll announce it the week of the first game. Until then, he's not going to give anybody additional practice because we've all seen what Mack can do when he played the little bit he played last year. And if he is anywhere close to the hype, he will be the starter.
Well, wherever DeBoer's gone, he's had a good quarterback. Okay, so here's the other thing. Austin Mack is a 4-year guy, but he's only played in 5 games, thrown only 35 passes. He came from Washington. Okay, so playing in SEC versus playing in the Pac-12. So, the defenses are a little bit different.
I'm not thinking about him. I'm thinking about the freshman kid.
I know you are, but I'm going to. So then you get to Russell. He's only played in 2 games as a freshman. All right, so here's the other thing. If he names it on August the 24th, which, starts everything, is he going to just decide then, or is he going to say maybe play a 2-quarterback system for the first game or 2? He should win the first 2 games.
Now, I heard an interesting statement, and this is way back when. Everybody always talks about the quarterback. Does he have it between the ears? And I think it was Spurrier who said it. He goes, I don't care if he has it between the ears. Does he have it between the eyes?
Right.
Meaning, can he see it? And then, boom, between the ears, he goes, there's a lot of room for error.
True. Well, the process, that's something I know a little bit about, and what I've seen, and from a coaching standpoint, this is something I learned early on. When the ball snaps and everything starts moving, some people can see it and some people can't. You've probably seen that as a coach. You probably say, "What happened on the backside of that?" And you get,
right.
And then the guys, there's some guys that can see it and they see all 22 pieces move, and and I don't have any explanation for that. I'm sure there's some neuroscience that there, but it's a different deal when the ball snaps for different people.
It's come so far now. If you go to colleges, they're wearing the visual thing where you're actually in the game and you're throwing. So you have to see. The
virtual reality stuff that they have now is just crazy.
It is amazing. And again, I think it can train you to some point, but I think some guys can either do it or they can't.
Right.
And I think that when guys are, quarterbacks, when I talk about the one that I have processing, that my current quarterback, how well he processes. Just a couple of days ago, we were out throwing 7-on-7, and it's not very common for one of my quarterbacks to see something before I see it. And I made a joke about it to our guys when we came back to the huddle. That he saw something and made a throw, but he saw it before I saw it.
Right.
And that, to me, that's really impressive. Some guys are just a little different in that regard, and I don't know the explanation for it, but that's just the reality of it.
Well, the Alabama Update is brought to you by 3 great people in here commenting on it, but also Stevenson Air Conditioning. So get out there and see them. Great company. I'll tell you what, Mosley grad, he's worked here hard, he's built a great business, and also home people taking care of home people. So we want to get out there to see that. So we'll be right back with the Auburn Update, 104.3 ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hale Show on ESPN Northwest Florida.
We can go to a youth sporting event, drink, and you know how they can get when they don't get their way? Man, that can create a problem.
In-depth local and college sports from expert insiders and a dash of controversy.
The day and age we live in with parents going crazy, getting in fights. I don't see alcohol making that any better.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9.
5 minutes can save your life.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Anna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday morning. As we head into this afternoon and evening, a likelihood of thunderstorms and some sun, and a high of 92 with a moderate breeze coming out of the west around 18 miles per hour. For tonight, some clouds and a low near 83. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high around 92. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
There's only one sport with games to bet every day the rest of the summer, and there's only one legal app to bet it. Bet baseball on Hard Rock Bet, your home to bet home runs, strikeouts, even the next at-bat. It's secure and regulated, so your money is safe. Step up to the plate with towering parlays that can turn a dollar bet into a max payout up to $2 million.
It's out of here!
Hard Rock Bet. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about your gambling? Call or text 1-833-PLAY-WISE.
KLA Builders is a general contractor based in Panama City Beach, specializing in home remodeling, renovations, and custom projects. KLA Builders offers services like kitchen and bathroom remodels, deck construction, and full home renovations. With a focus on craftsmanship and personalized service for residential projects, KLA Builders is turning client visions into reality. For a free estimate, call KLA Builders, 850-960-5115. That's 850-960-5115.
He's a beacon of light to many and an inspiration to all.
These men need inspiration.
Now back to the Coach James Hale Show inside the J. Michaels studio.
They're motivated by Vicodin and Road Skank.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
War Eagle! Hey, march down the field. This is the real true University of Alabama, the Auburn Tigers, or Plainsmen, or War Eagles. They just have an identity crisis. Sometimes we're not sure who we are.
They understand exactly who they are.
They do.
And they're the only ones.
They are the only ones. I have no clue.
Listen, at the media thing, Coach said, we are going to run the football, but he said it in a different way. We're going to run the you-know-what out of it. So, also, he comes in, and they're not going to be like when Hugh Freeze and them were there, they're not going to be worried about looking for a quarterback or can they develop a quarterback. They have one.
Not his first year.
Yeah, the first year is, Byron Brown, he was the AAC experience, throwing motion, and maybe a little problem, and maybe the ACC defense could be a little problem for him. But right now, what they're doing to circumvent that is when he plays, the number one defense is out there. And so if you're playing against Durkin's defense, which Auburn is going to be noted for defense this year too, so that's going to be something he needs to do.
At South Florida, the quarterback was the key for them. They didn't have that good of a run game. Auburn almost always has a good run game. They have good running backs. If they can run the ball with that defense, last year, if they would have scored more points average per game, Hugh Freeze is still the coach.
Right. But
I mean that's just a fact statement.
Well, if you go back to 2023 when you rushed 2 and it's 4th and 29 and they scored, beat it. That killed Florida State when they did that. So I had to call all of my Auburn friends and get all over them. Who plays a 2-9 and still gets scored on? But listen, when he comes in, he's going to come in, and he had he's 6'3", 235 pounds, and the receivers from USF came too, so that's going to be a good thing. But last year he passed for 2,000 yards, and he also ran for 1,000, so he's the real deal. So, and what do we get? We get Austin Daniels to go in there to help us. So I'm like, okay, we're getting the guy that the new coach is not going to use, so that's not very good to us too. So anyway, we'll see what goes on. The big first game starts is September the 5th. They will play
Baylor in Auburn.
Baylor at Auburn, so that'd be great. And then they go down and play. Could be an upset team. They play the mighty Southern Miss Golden Eagles, so the 12th. And then they play Florida. That's a big game right there. Florida's at home, so they start out pretty good at home. Now they got some games, and then Vandy, and then the next week is at Tennessee, and then the gauntlet goes at Tennessee, at Georgia, LSU, and at Ole Miss. If you get through those 4, you got to win at least 2 of those.
I've heard several YouTubers, people who do podcasts, say that Auburn could be possibly undefeated going into that stretch, and then come out of that
4-4.
500.
500, 4-4.
And they said if that happens, then a lot of people will be super disappointed.
Well, it's not like, you're playing little sisters to the poor, chicken switch Georgia. I mean, so those are, especially at Tennessee, at Georgia. LSU is at home is bad enough, and then go to Ole Miss. I'm not sure they can't get by Ole Miss, but I tell you what, playing at Tennessee, playing at Georgia, that's tough. That really is. So, but again, Tennessee, we're not sure about the offense.
Well, Auburn had Georgia beat last year,
right,
and just couldn't score.
And they couldn't get.
There was a lot of games that was the case. They were one-score games. You just put up some more points, and all of a sudden you're in the playoffs, and
yep, you're still there. And you still practice golf.
That's, Coach over here, Griffith, that's how thin a line sometimes it is.
I was about to mention that, it's when you look at success or failure, from a standpoint, you get so many opportunities, the evaluation's pretty clear, you would, from a win-loss standpoint, even at our level. And then, you reflect on it and how close. You go back at the film. You say, "Man, if we made this play or this play, we win that game. Made this play or this play, we win that game." And there is a fine line between success and failure, and whether you keep your job or not. And those guys live in a whole different world. That like you said, if a couple things go their way, score a couple extra points, they're in the playoffs. Don't do it. You're looking for a job. It's a tough. It's a tough.
Or just a guy losing focus for a half a second on the field. And not seeing what we were talking about in the break, not seeing the whole field, only seeing a portion of the field, not seeing that backside all of a sudden, even on defense.
Yeah, we joke at the high school level. Our careers and reputations are in the hands of 16-year-old kids in this today's social media environment. So it's a challenge.
People don't realize how tough it is just to win the football game. When they say we should win this one, well, I don't see we out there helping. And watching the kids play and all that, remember, and then how many people have an occupation that when they look up there and see a score, that's your whole worth, and it's not. I have to remind players all the time, your life's worth is not on that scoreboard, and so there's a lot of things you can't control.
So here's an interesting question for me: how much leeway do you give your quarterback to call an audible?
It depends on the quarterback, to be honest with you. I think this one, by the time we get into this thing pretty good, I think we've already done that, probably a little more than I have in recent years. He's going to have the opportunity to go up because he's going to see some different things. He's going to have the opportunity to make some adjustments. How broad that is going to depend on him. If he's able to get up there, the more he's able to do and the more effective he is, the more I'll let him do. And again, the opposite is true. If we're making mistakes and not doing that, then I won't, I'll keep more of that control. So it really just depends on the guy. If I was telling the truth, I would like my quarterback, if I had one to go up there and he could call the plays at the line, that'd be the greatest thing in the world. But if that's not really a reality, particularly guys this age. But I think the one I have currently, he's going to have the opportunity to do that probably more so than I've had in probably a while. It's been a while since.
And at each level, it's a little different with each quarterback because the defense can trick the quarterback at the line of scrimmage a different way at each level as you progress. And we were talking about how thin that line is. It could be a game could be that where you call the play because you've set it up. He comes up, sees something, audible's out of it, and now all of a sudden you didn't get that play that you wanted, and it was the right call.
And again, that's the risk when you do that. When you turn it over and you put it in the kid's hands, you got to have that trust, and you got to support him when you do it. You can't put it in his hands and then make it his fault.
And
you've got to.
I'm leading that into, you go back to Auburn. They've got a senior quarterback this year. The last 2 years, you had a freshman and sophomore quarterback. Then you had a quarterback that came in and took over at the end of the year. Transfer quarterback, Florida State's got him now. He didn't have the experience. But now you got a quarterback that's going to have the experience. So when he comes to that line, he can check out of a bad play. check into a good play, I don't see as many bad plays happening offensively for Auburn as you go through. And then you couple that with the defense, you make fewer mistakes, score a little bit more points, and have the same defensive play. Watch out.
Yeah. Back in the olden days, we had the quarterback come to the line of scrimmage, and he would call the defense out so the lineman would know. But then they would say, okay, if they're in this alignment, you run this play either side. If they move out of that, then you come out of it. But that was back in the day when we didn't throw that much. Most of the time we ran it. So he would pick out where he thought the hole would be to start with. So
the defensive alignments used to be a little more static back then too, and now when you go up, they may be in a certain front and they may slide that front, but that front may slide after the snap. They may line up this way, but they're moving to something else at the snap, and there's so much more movement in defenses, and there's so much more disguises and coverages rolling and that kind of thing. So it's more and more challenging. I think with offenses the way they are, if a defense stays static, they're in trouble.
Right.
If you know how they're going to line up, they're in trouble.
That's become more really the last 8 years or so is defensive ends dropping into coverage, and you got a linebacker or safety coming out of nowhere blitzing, and that defensive end's dropping out to the flat or the middle of the field, and he can play it. He's fast like a linebacker, and that, I mean, I can just imagine from a coaching standpoint, that's just driving you crazy.
Those hybrid type guys are challenging,
right?
And that's why they get paid so much money. Same thing from an offensive standpoint. The hybrid, the guys, the Kelce's, the tight ends that can stand up, the Gronkowski's. Those guys are, they're difference makers. They're game winners because they can, without changing personnel packages, they can put their hand in the ground and block. They can go stand up, and they're as fast as a daggum receiver. So I mean, it creates a lot of challenge. Same thing on defense when you got a hybrid guy. You can't. It's tough to pick on that guy because he has all that the different abilities. So it creates a lot of challenges for you when you have those type of guys.
Yeah, it does. And tell you what, and we played Seabreeze, and they didn't have a offense that they got hand signals. That was when we first had hand signals. The good thing about that was when they first started that, we had enough time to do the defense too, because when they were in a certain set, you're there, but then when they moved, you were able to move too, because they couldn't snap the ball before they got set. So that kind of helped us too. So we want to thank. Guess who we're going to thank? John and Charlotte McVeigh. Newbies, what a great place that is. 5 great locations. My favorite now is turned into the Blue Building on Bayview. Used to be the Brew and Booze, and they moved my outline down to the Blue Building on Bayview. So, and another statue being erected there too. So, but I tell you what, they take care of the community. They've given to all kinds of things in the community. I want to thank them for what they do. Go to the mothership, all kinds of entertainment, best bands around, and just watch all the sports. Be there, nice people. They have the best bands coming in. So, go see them. And also Max Fit Sports Nutrition. Make sure you go see Jason. Try it before you buy it. And also, he will not sell you anything that you don't need. They're pretty good about body weight, body texture, everything you want to know. And then they will tell you the things that you probably need. And if you're playing a certain sport, then they will get with you on that. So what a great place that is. So get out there and see them. And then also, you want to get out today to J. Michael's, one of the best places you can go eat some food. And Auburn brought to you by Beef O'Brady's. Pat Perno, commissioner at Lynn Haven, does a great job. Also one of the great restaurateurs here, as you want to say it. Get out there and enjoy that food. So we'll be right back. 104.3 ESPN, Florida State, Florida State, Florida State. Woo!
It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Lane Kiffin should be the 4th coach to win a national championship there. They will do whatever it takes to win, and they will fire you in a heartbeat. So somehow, some way, they got plenty of money down there.
A bit of oil money leaks into Louisiana, so and children's hospitals are going to suffer in the next 10 years if they really want a championship.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
The legendary Pepper's Mexican Grill and Cantina, home for the most popular drink specials in town and now on the beach. Enjoy 2-for-1 house margaritas and draft beer all day, every day. 10% off on Military Mondays, and Tuesdays kids eat free with an adult. Pepper's Mexican Grill and Cantina, now with 2 locations. Back Beach next to Home Depot and Highway 77.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
I'd like to introduce.
Now back to the Coach James Hale Show.
Milk was a bad choice.
If I could just have your attention.
60% of the time, it works every time.
If anyone wants to switch jobs, let me know.
Live from the J. Michaels studio.
I have many leather-bound books.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Florida State, Florida State, Florida State. Woo! I would try to say FSU, but I can't spell Florida State. I don't know how. I went to East High School, y'all. I'm sorry. Back in the day, as they say.
I know people that know how to spell Florida State, but not Florida.
No, that's Flow.
Just because of a song.
It's Flow Rider, F-L-O, Flow Rider. So I'll talk to you about FSU, but it's brought to you by Newbies. And John and Charlotte, like we say, great things, great community, giving back to great places, all 5 locations, the mothership. You need to make sure you go there, too. And we thank them for all they do for Bay County. All right, FSU. Here's what we got about FSU. All right. The two programs are going in a different direction. One is FSU, one is Florida. Florida hired John Sumrall. He was 42-11 at Tulane and Troy, and he reached conference title games each year that he was at those schools. And besides that, he is pairing himself with a $2 million offense coordinator in Buster Faulkner. And also what he's brought in was an NFL executive, Dave Caldwell, as the general manager. So he's done pretty good things, and they're talking about that, but even though it's not the Florida up to date. But here's FSU. We've been 7-17 over the last 2 years with a coach who survived because we didn't have the money to pay him. So we'll see what goes on with that. I'm still a Noah fan. I still believe in him. I can do whatever we want to do. But you know what? If he doesn't win this year, they just might be enough money to buy him out. And then with Herman, are we bringing the coach in Wayne?
No.
So who are they going to get? Not Dion, I hope.
No. There's other coaches out there. The problem you're going to have that is going to be the same thing, and it's what's happening all across college football. You're not going to go get a big-time Division I coach to come there. You're going to have to go get another Memphis, Tulane coach like that. I mean, and that's not a bad thing. A South Florida coach. I mean, Auburn did that. Florida did that. There's other schools that have done this. I mean, everybody has to remember Lane Kiffin came from FIU?
Yeah.
FAU.
Atlantic. So
one of them.
That's not a bad thing to go get one of those coaches. You just you got to make the right choice. I think Norvell, when Florida State hired him, was the right choice.
Right.
I think everything was moving right along, and we were talking about a little bit about it before the break, but I think there was a major decision when Florida State goes undefeated, they get snubbed out of the playoffs. I don't think that's what destroyed all of the momentum and everything. It was the mentality that was destroyed by the players not playing and what Coach you said and Norvell being okay with that, it destroyed everything that he had preached, and it went in there with a message of, hey, we got to climb, we got to keep working. I still have a poster that says work, and it's showing it. We got to put in the work. Well, okay, you put in the work, you don't make it, and then you just say, okay, everybody quit. There was that decision, but then there was another huge decision that's never been talked about. He is, and every coach is, about a locker room character, and there's certain guys that you want on your team that are the symbol of that locker room. They had one. They didn't give him a scholarship. He was a walk-on. He played. Didn't give him a scholarship, and he transferred out. That was at the end of that year. He's right here from Bay County.
Mm-hmm. I know who you're talking about.
And when he left, the locker room changed.
That would be CJ.
CJ, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the guy that everybody liked. I mean, I would go after the games and talk with him, talk with other people. And when players are coming out of the locker room, they would ask where he is. They would come up and say, hey, you seen CJ? Where'd he go? Oh, he was that guy. He was a Jordan Travis, but not the superstar.
Well, he recovered so fast after that injury that was the thing that brought them all together with him. He was already that personality because I saw him play at Bay High School.
Well, the big thing that I would hear from some of the players that I talked to was what he did during practice, running scout team stuff, and then getting onto the defense for not doing certain things. Getting onto a Jared Verse, getting onto one of these guys that, hey, you're not giving me 100%. You're coasting during this and doing that, and I think Norvell not giving him a scholarship. He was basically what we would call Dean's List academically.
Right.
Putting in all the work, all the guys loved him, and then he just kind of said, hey, we're building this on character and work, and you're not here. We're not giving you a scholarship.
We're not honoring that character. He's
and that's where I go right now. It sent a message throughout that program that he has not overcome yet again, and I don't know that he can. Because there's still kids or guys on that team, men, who were there when that happened.
Right.
And it's hard to trust somebody when they say, hey, you do this, this, and this, you're working your tail off, and then they bring somebody else in and put them in front of you.
They've done that in some ways with the quarterbacks they've brought in.
That's
the most high profile. It's been a lot of positions.
And I agree with that. Even to expand on a little bit more. Jordan Travis was about as him and CJ. You don't have kids like that usually on your team. I mean, they're as good as it gets. High caliber, great locker room guys like that. And then I think following that up, not only letting CJ leave, but then they went out and got some hired guns that maybe weren't great for the locker room.
Selfish.
And put a lot of money in that, and I'm not sure that was a great decision either. So I think there were some mistakes made there as well. So it's been a lot of things going the opposite of what you'd hope for, I think.
And I still think he's a great coach, X's and O's wise.
I agree.
And I think he has a great character. I think he made a bad decision, and he has yet to been able to overcome that decision by enforcing other stuff. And that other stuff is real vague, I understand, but there's things that he could have done the next year that would have put a immediate stop to stuff that he chose to let go.
Right. The other thing, too, is that I thought he did a great job of getting Verse and those guys to come back when they were going to be drafted the year before.
And I don't know it was so much him as it was the Jordan Travis, the C.J. Campbells, all those guys in the locker room. When you listen to those guys talk about it, it wasn't – so Jared Verse, he talked about coming back and playing with his best friend, which was Trey Benson.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't talk about coming back and playing for the team. All these guys were such a close unit group, and they hung out together. They did stuff together. They all came back for each other.
Right.
Then they all didn't play with each other against Georgia. And I think that's what broke the camel's back.
Right.
Makes sense. A lot of logic there.
And I hated it, but I understood it. As far as you're fixing to be a first-round draft pick, don't go out and pull a Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah, whatever happened to Lords of London and got insured? Did they ever quit doing it?
They still do it.
Do it?
They don't pay as much as that NFL draft, I can promise you.
No, it doesn't. Probably not. Or the NIL deal. So, but also they have a new linebacker that Chris Jones, who came from the Southern Miss Eagles. He has really done a good job as far as being a run guy and a rush guy, but falling back into zones and things like that, he doesn't do that as well. And they say part of it is because of his size, he can't see some things that are going on, and also that now he's going to be playing. Is he going to be good enough? Now he's going to be playing in the ACC versus the AAC. So we'll see what goes on with all that. But last year they said even at Southern Miss, it missed 16% of tackles. That was his tackle rate miss. So hopefully that will not be the case. But also, is White going to have to make a kind of a situation where they can send him a lot versus making him drop back in pass coverage?
If the defensive line can't get pressure on the quarterback,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what team you are, you're in trouble.
Right.
When you have to send those extra guys consistently. I mean, Coach Griffin can tell us that if you can play 7 deep,
right?
If you can drop 7, drop 8, and still stop the run, that's very difficult from an offensive standpoint. It's challenging if you can do that. If you can, but if you have to blitz, you have to put pressures. Then it's risk reward. You open up yourself for the big plays and the huge explosive plays as they call them these days. So
then you get somebody like Eli Manning. I don't know if you ever heard the story. They're playing their first game, and I'm listening to this on a podcast, and the guy's talking about, when you play a great, he goes, I'm playing at a smaller school. We practice a blitz for him. He comes up first play from the line of scrimmage, walks up. We're not doing anything. He looks across and looks at the linebacker and go, he's blitzing. He's doing this, calls a check, 80-yard touchdown. And he goes, that's crazy. And then after the game, he goes, I played against that kid in high school when I was like a freshman. When he blitzed, he had something with his nose and mouth that he did. He goes, I looked over, saw it, went, he's blitzing. And it's like, great. That's crazy.
Well, you look for edges. Coach, probably, I don't know if I'll ever watch as much film as Coach here's probably watched, but you watch film and you watch it over and over and over again. You're looking for just small things. You're looking for tendencies. You're looking for alignments and things to give you an edge. And I think guys that do that. But so that right there, that's a whole different level to be able to look at a guy's facial expressions from high school. And I've not quite gotten there in my.
Before we had this day and age of everybody filming everything, I used to get a kid out of one of the audio-visual classes, and they would travel. And I had them film every kick, whether somebody kicked to us or we kicked to them. And they would just give me the tape because I'm the only one that's going to look at it because nobody wants to be like the line coach who got a shot, watch the play 7 times or 5 times. So that I would know, and as we keep playing the same teams over and over, kind of what we do. So I look for if somebody have their hand down or not have their hand down, or this guy doesn't really block, he just kind of steps over and things like that. So
I can tell you a football team that did that, and they ended up winning the game. And you go back to 1972, Auburn did that versus Alabama. The coach found a weakness in their punt formation and exploited it. And Auburn blocks 2 punts and wins the game.
Right. We were known for doing kind of stuff, but I had a lot of different things on all the kicking game.
Yeah, you were one of the ones who really made special teams just so how the importance of it and how effective, how much you did with that. But I do like the fact that you talked about the tape. Mm-hmm. Coach, when you started, it was in a can. Now let's be honest.
Well, that when I started was in a can, but eventually we got to the.
Yeah. I thought it was just a stick in the dirt.
That too.
Probably so.
That's like who had the napkin wins. Their drawings. But anyways, so. Brought to you by FSU. Is brought to you by, of course, Newbies on the Beach. So make sure you get out there and enjoy all the fine places. And also, we want to make sure we go by to see Max Fit Sports Nutrition, Steve's Bike Shop. Take care of those people. They will do whatever you need to take care of you. We'll be right back. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Finish with Coach Griffin.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Sports Blitz.
Let's remember about guys like Lane Kiffin. And this is true. They say it down south, and that's not nothing. Zebras don't change their stripes. They just change their watering hole. He's still Lane Kiffin. And I came up for a term for him. He's a narciopath. That's a combination of a narcissist and a sociopath, okay? He is not going to change.
The Sports Blitz.
Live and local, weekdays 4 to 6.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Anna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday morning. As we head into this afternoon and evening, a likelihood of thunderstorms and some sun, and a high of 92 with a moderate breeze coming out of the west around 18 miles per hour. For tonight, some clouds and a low near 83. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high around 92. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Ho, ho, ho! Santa's on vacation, but Coin and Bullion Reserve's fine jewelry is working overtime on the savings. Celebrate Christmas in July with up to 75% off sparkling diamond and gemstone jewelry, coastal-inspired pieces, and holiday savings that are making waves. You'll find treasures from the shore to adore during Christmas in July. Slay the summer at Coin and Bullion Reserve's fine jewelry at the corner of East Avenue and 15th Street, your diamond headquarters.
Your safety and proper care of your boat in an emergency is crucial. When it comes to on-water assistance, response time is everything. And since 1996, in the Bay or on the Gulf, it's SeaTow. SeaTow's Coast Guard licensed captains are on the scene in an average of 1 hour or less. SeaTow gets members home or back to boating faster. Become a member today at SeaTow.com or call 850-234-2323.
Full residential and commercial projects from start to finish. Wheelhouse is ready to help. From the moment you have the thought to build to the moment you step through the front door of your finished project, Wheelhouse Consulting and Engineering will walk you through all of your aspirations. Engineering, site plans, live architectural design, construction, 3D rendering, permits, and more. Wheelhouse Consulting and Engineering, 850-896-6597, 850-896-6597, and online at wheelhousedba.com.
It's the Coach James Hale Show. Live and local from the J. Michaels Studio.
A lot more excitement is yet to come.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. Let's listen to the radio. Well, Coach, we're going to let you finish up here this last little segment. Talk a little about what's going to happen here. Your plans for the week or so. When do you actually get to run into each other on purpose?
Well, we got to go. You got to have 5 practices. We're going to be in helmets for 2 days and the shells for 3, and you're really not allowed to go live contact until that 6th day. So whatever it is, I think some guys, will go Saturday. What we typically do is we do our picture day on Saturday,
right?
And then we'll scrimmage, do our first live stuff. Right after the pictures on Saturday. That's our plan if the weather permits. But it's that 6th day, whether it's Saturday or Monday, whatever guys, I don't typically do a lot of stuff on Saturdays, but we try to do that first one because we get picture day done and that sort of stuff. So that's our plan. It's kind of just, and the helmet days are kind of, I don't want to say silly, but they're silly because we've been doing this all summer.
Right.
It's just 2 more summer days. We just put helmets on instead of not. So,
right.
it's just getting through 2 more of the typical days that you've been doing all summer. And it's not till you get shells on, you start banging a little bit, getting fits, and start running each other to where you really start. That's the transition between off season and the season. So we still got a couple of days to do this stuff before we start really getting the fits and start banging and start And again, when you got a guy in shorts, and you're excited, high-fiving, coming off at 7:07, man, and then all of a sudden the pads come on, and you're like, where the hell did that guy go? What?
Yeah, you got to go down and block. You don't always get to catch it. Yeah.
Right. I thought this guy was so sometimes you're wrong about guys when the pads come on, but sometimes you were wrong about a guy. And when the pads come on, you're like, whoa, we've not. This kid right here, we've overlooked him. So, you get a little bit of that both ways. And so it's not until the pads come on and the banging starts that you really find out if a guy's what he's going to be able to do, contribute to your football team, and whether or not he's going to be a big-time contributor, or whether or not he's going to, some guys, like Steve used to always say this, Steve was big on those old cliches with a lot of truth to him, and I find myself saying them more and more often, he'd always say the cream always rises. Yeah. And there's just truth to that. The cream will rise. The guys that are going to be big-time football players and be big contributors for you when the lights come on and the pads are on, they're going to show up.
Right.
And the other guys that maybe you thought were, they had the ability and these other things, maybe they're going to shrink away from that moment. So, you're going to have a little bit of that both ways. And, from a coaching standpoint, you have to figure that out and, make some adjustments.
Some guys like to hit.
Yeah. Some guys really do. And some guys avoid it
at all costs
as much as they can. So, you can't find that out until the hitting starts. So.
That's right. Everybody looks good in the shorts.
Yes, sir.
So, but the thing too, do you work on special teams and help?
A lot. When I tell you, I've been very fortunate. With Josh Wright is
right.
Not only one of the best coaches in Northwest Florida, he's my best friend, and we've been together for a while now. And we got hired the same day years ago at Mosley by Charlie Tate. 98, 99, somewhere in there, and we've been best friends, since then. And he's always, and he's probably talked to you quite a bit about that stuff. Josh,
we have some, yeah.
Yeah, Josh. Nobody. You've been, like I said, special teams weren't really a thing until you showed up here, and now it became a thing. So now you have to spend a lot of time on it, or you just feel like you're not getting the job done because of a lot of things and how impactful the special teams can be. And Josh does a phenomenal job of overseeing that and making sure that. That we're solid in those phases of the game, and again, Josh really keeps that. I'll forget. It won't be something to set your forefront because obviously you think about offense and defense and what these guys are going to do, and then Josh will say, "Well, what about this?" From a special teams standpoint, I'm like, "Oh, yep, probably should think about that a little more." So
when Coach Scroggins was here, I had 30 minutes every day. And so that was like, usually we did that first because after they've run the routes and done all that, so we did that. So we did it like if we were kicking field goals, then we did the field goal rush or block or return or whatever we did. And we did the kickoff, return. Now, we never did anything like kickoff, return live. We just went down there, and if somebody touches, you stop, and everything like that. But we did some unique things on there, and then of course punt. That's the best way to screw up a football game there is. No, yeah,
I agree. A block punt, a drop snap, a bad snap. I mean, all of those things are just they kill you.
Or a run back.
Oh gosh, a return. Nothing more deflating from a coaching standpoint. As you just go down, you make this nice drive, and everything clicks, and you put points on the board. And then you turn around and kick it off, and they run one right back on you. Like, well,
when they run
pretty
back
demoralizing.
When they ran back on us, I swear they all ran by our bench and winked at me. But Coach Scroggs would throw in a couple of people and say, "Coach, don't do this, don't do it." And so they would go right where those guys are. They would just find them, So we played Childs one year, and they had a guy that always kicked it in the end zone. So Coach said, "Don't practice that." I said, "Crap, we're going to practice it. What if you don't kick it in the end zone?" I said, "You seen the guys they put on the kickoff team? It's all the booster club kids that don't play. They run down the field." So he kicked the short, and ran it back.
Yeah,
that was the only time he ever kicked the short, So anyway, but Coach, we there's. I didn't write a book, but I drew some stuff up. I actually gave it to Josh Vandergriff. He took it to Georgia with him, so I went up there and did some things with him this summer and said, "Okay, this is what you look for." So then they tried to get me a job. I said, "I'm not leaving Panama City. My coaching is over. I'm not standing out there all day, So, but I think what you guys have done and everything out there really is, there's some large crowds there, and when. I'll tell you a funny thing about not knowing technology. I was walking to the sidelines, and I saw this guy look like he was playing a game, and I looked up. All of a sudden, the drone comes down.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's such a difference maker. The drones and drone footage and that view that you get, it's invaluable.
And you can see it right after it happens.
We with our drones, we get it in real time on the sideline, so we can as soon as the series is over, we can grab the iPad and we can review in real time, and it's really. It's tremendous. I've the places I've been and things like that. We've had challenges with the teams we're playing. With a lot better athletes and bigger numbers and all that kind of stuff. So, we try to find every advantage we can to try to help us compete, and that's one. I'll tell you, the drone. And Josh does great. I'll tell you, Josh does a great job with so many things. But he's in that CTE, and he develops relationships with these filmers and the drone people. And I'll tell you, he always makes sure that we have that stuff as well.
What's amazing to me, Coach Moon and the linemen. Our offensive line didn't play any other position. They played that, and but he would always say things like, what, offensive linemen, we don't need anybody, but everybody needs the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And so they ate first. They got on the bus first, everything. So, we try to treat those guys with a lot of respect. And running sprints, we made them run 20 yards. How many linemen are going to run 100 yards? Not in the whole game, maybe.
Very, if they're running 100 yards, they're probably getting chased by something. I don't see that happen. But I think with with our guys, we try to take care of them as well. And I think most important thing for me from an offensive line coaching standpoint is you got to have a guy that understands their life and what they're doing and have those relationships. And, because they need to be, it's a different animal in how you deal with them.
Right.
And, I've learned a lot about offensive line over the years, but I would not be a very good offensive line position coach because I didn't live in that world. I think you have to have lived in that world.
Yes.
To have that bond, it's a different thing to have that kind of bond. And it's like, you got to be one of them.
That's right.
You got to be one of them, and you have to understand that. And I think that the best offensive line coaches are the guys that have that, that have that experience.
We would have a specialty period that would be before anybody else got out there, and Coach Moon and I would work together with we ran the swinging gate, and then we ran some other stuff. Then we had snappers, holders, kickers before anybody got out there. So you got them individually, and you didn't have to wait. Can we have him for 5 minutes? So we had those, and we did a great job with those kind of things. And like I said, they're specialty teams, but those linemen, man, they're the hogs. But if they're not working,
well, I see you mentioned Clint McCrory. Yeah. I mean, there was nobody that I've ever seen that built relationships with offensive linemen like Clint, and he was one. I mean, that's what he was, and so it was there's been some great ones come through, and I know Moon did a great job over there with you guys. Right. There's been some really good ones come through here, and. It takes a special kind of guy to get that group to. I mean, to get those guys to come out and do that. It's pretty impressive to be able to get those guys inspired.
It is. Well, listen, we're going to have to close out here. It's been great, Coach. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Coach.
We really appreciate you guys for having me.
James, thank you for doing a great job back there.
Happy to be here.
And Patrick, glad to have you. Listen, get out and see all of our sponsors. Jay Michaels today, also Peppers. Go out there and see Adamson Jewelry and get your air conditioner fixed because you're going to need it. So,
if you see the outside workers out there today working, go get them a bottle of water.
Yeah, give them something.
Next couple of days.
Yeah, it's brutal. Steve Bike Shop and also Smacks Sports Nutrition, whatever we got to go. What about it, James? It's time. We're checking out.
It's that time.
All right. See you tomorrow. Hopefully, Coach will be here tomorrow. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the Coach James Hale Show.
What would the committee do, in your opinion?
Well, I think they put Notre Dame in.
Thank you.
I thought you were asking what I would do.
No, well, I was, but then I asked you what the committee's.
Oh, what the committee's
I can have
do?
the court reporter read back what I said. You can't handle.
Bring in the stenographer.
Weekday morning 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Anna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on the